On this episode of Game Shack, it is Pac-Mania as I talk about all of the different varieties of Pac-Man that you can buy right now from Arcade1up. Everything from their popular Partycades all the way up to the brand new XL version from Costco. And they even give you a little review on Pac-Mania. All that and more coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome on back into the Game Shack. I'm your host, JDV. Thanks for stopping by. It really does mean a lot to us. Please subscribe if you haven't already, guys. It really does mean a lot to this channel if you do. And of course, give us a thumbs up on the way out the door if you like this kind of content. All right, well, it's the 5-year anniversary of Arcade1up, or it's coming up, or it's real soon. Anyway, it's been about 5 years since Arcade1up burst onto the scene and kind of helped establish 3/4 scale arcading as a really cool subgenre of video game fandom. And a lot of how they made their bones was by making different varieties of Pac-Man. Pac-Man, of course, is one of the greatest games of all time, if not the greatest video game of all time. It's a game that appeals to everybody, young, old, male, female, everything in between. It is a great, wonderful game. And all the different varieties of that game have been staples for Arcade1up since the very original cabs that they put out 5 years ago. Well, flash forward to today, and we have all kind of varieties of Pac-Man, all at different price points. So depending on your price, the price you can afford, the space you have, the kind of games that you want, the lineup you want in those games, there's going to be a little something for everybody in there if you are a Pac-Man fan. So let's talk a little bit about right now about the pricing brackets. Basically, for $2.99 right now, you can either get the Wallcade in the Pac-Man, or Miss Pac-Man, excuse me, and or Super Pac-Man, which is essentially the Pac-Man version of that cab. I think those cabs come with 10 games on them and come in the popular Partycade format. Check out my review here on on the Miss Pac-Man version of that game. They're very cool, particularly if you are limited in space or you like to take these cabs to your friend's house or something like that. They make fantastic gifts, although maybe not at $300, but when they were $99, which I've seen them at, or right now you can actually get, I think, some of these Partycades at Costco for $200 if you look around. But anyway, most places have the Partycades at $2.99. Walmart has the riserless version of their current Pac-Man game, which has 14 games on it, but you don't get a riser, you don't get a lit coin door, and you don't get a lit marquee for that $2.99 price tag. However, you do get the Wi-Fi, you do get a BOE screen, and you do get the ability to put your high scores on the internet. So that is a very interesting thing, because you could always add a riser that you either build yourself or you buy from Etsy, or you get the Arcade1up license version from Walmart. I think they're going for 60 bucks. And of course, you can always put in your own light up marquee later. Check this video out for how to do that. Well, anyway, you can get into the Wallcade / riserless Pac-Man cab for $2.99 if that floats your boat. Moving up a step to $3.99 is Pac-Mania. Now, just about every single site I went to had this on sale right now for $3.99. So realistically, that is the new MSRP for this machine. This came out in 2022, and I'll give a little review after this little segment. But suffice it to say that it has a lot of upgrades from those initial Pac-Mans that we saw. It has a really cool kind of form factor to it. The colors are very brilliant, and you can tell the marquee is a little torn up on this. I bought it used. It does have a coin door that doesn't light up. Anyway, the biggest negative about this machine, other than a washed out marquee, is going to be the fact that it does not have a BOE monitor in it. It has a TN monitor, which means that depending on what viewing angle you're looking at, the colors are going to be washed out. It is an infinitely inferior screen to the BOE monitor that you're going to get on every other version of Pac-Man that you can buy right now new, and is the Achilles heel to this machine. I'm going to talk about whether or not, though, that screen might actually give a little bit of boost. I'll talk about what that means in a second. Anyway, you can walk into this cab brand new right now for $3.99 from just about everywhere. Walmart, Kohl's, QVC, they all have this thing for $3.99. And again, you're going to be able to get the 14 games online play and everything else that you see. You're just not going to get a really good screen. For $4.99, you walk up into another level. You're going to get into the Deluxe cabs. And these new Deluxe Legacy cabs, essentially the Gen 3 of this machine, has the really cool slanted screen. It has 14 games. Basically, everything else is going to be the same, other than the fact you have that new riserless design, and you're going to have that nice slanted screen, which I think everybody wants in this. It is, of course, probably the most realistic version of this game, more arcade real version of the game that you could buy. Well, all the way up until the new version of Pac-Man, the XL version that you can buy starting right now at some Costco's. You can place your order at Costco's for it, and I believe they're saying that it is like a week from now you'll be getting it. So if you're a Costco member, you can go to their website right now and order the Pac-Man XL, which is going to give you a screen that is 2 inches bigger than this, so a 19-inch diagonal screen. You're going to get a much better marquee. You're going to get light up buttons. You're going to get a light up coin door, and of course you're going to get that riserless design. It is in fact probably the cab that most people would have if price was not an issue or space, because it is a bigger machine than this form factor. Just for sure it's going to be about 2 inches wider, and I do believe it's a little taller. It is going to be just about right here. So I don't know if you guys can see way back here. Here's an original Arcade1up machine, 4 feet tall. Then you get up into this kind of machine, right? And then now the XLs are going to be even bigger than that. You can find one of these for 1/3 of the price of the Pac-Man XL. But of course, the Pac-Man XL has a 2-inch bigger screen, has a lit up buttons, has a lit up coin door, and the quality of that monitor is going to be vastly superior to that in the Pac-Mania generation. I do think that Costco XL is the slickest looking cab for Pac-Man yet, although I do actually love the design of Pac-Mania. I love the different colors on it and everything. I think this is a very handsome little cab, although of course I do have to replace that marquee. Hopefully Joe Sable's got something cooking up for me right now. So what should you get? What are you looking at buying? Well, let me talk a little bit of a review of this cab real quick, because this is the cheapest way that you can get into a cab that has a riser, has online capacity, has a really slick looking cab, but of course you're going to be looking at that screen and going, is it good enough? And the fact is, if you are someone who's going to have this be your primary cab, then no, it probably isn't good enough. Yes, you can replace it. You can either get a third-party screen. 19K Fox has a video on that, but that's not a perfect solution. What a lot of people are doing is they're just buying the 17-inch screen off of eBay. I happen to have a 17-inch screen that I've kind of been sitting on. I probably am going to replace it, although I'm not 100%. And the reason why is, even though this is technically a worse screen, when you're kind of standing in front of it and playing it, it actually feels a lot more like the old school screens that you would have on these in the arcade. And those screens, let's be honest, were not great to start with, and by the time it had been in your local arcade for 5 or 6 years, you know, the colors were all washed out. It looked, you know, did not look the best. So in that way, when you're playing this Pac-Mania cab in front of this not great screen, it reminded me more of a real old school arcade machine than the brand new super crisp BOE screens, which of course you can see every little pixel and they're brilliant. Those screens are way better than any original screen that you'd have in any arcade game. This is actually much closer in quality to the screen that you would actually have in a real arcade machine. So you put some scan lines on this, and boy, it really does kind of replicate it. If you're using this sort of, if this is like your 4th or 5th cab, something that you're just getting for the wife or your kids, or just kind of round out your collection so when people come over on game nights, I say that the screen on this thing is okay. Otherwise, if Pac-Man is your first love or whatever, then you just go ahead and save up that extra $200 and get the XL, or at the very least get the Legacy cab for $100 more than this MSRP's for. I almost never buy my cabs new though, so for $200 I couldn't hardly say no to it. Of course, you look at the marquee, besides the fact that it's got a little tear on it now, it's the way I bought it, it's also washed out. I mean, the marquee is washed out and not great, and the screen is washed out and not great. Other than that, the joystick's fantastic on this game. It's the best joystick that I've ever used on an Arcade1up game. I know the joystick on NFL Blitz is great, but I don't care about Blitz. But for a Pac-Man game, and I've owned 3 or 4 other Arcade1up Pac-Man games, by far the best joystick. The buttons are jank. I'm probably going to replace the fire button for my, Galaga and Galaxian enjoyment. But in terms of the stick for the Pac-Man games, boy, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's a newer stick or something, but it really does feel quite a bit better than the more expensive stick than I have on my other build. There are some good things about this cab. The fact that you can get online is sweet. I think the cab itself looks great. It really is a very fancy looking cab. It's not very hard to add the light up buttons. I've got a dozen of those things. I just got to get around to doing it. So if you can pick one of these things up lightly used, then you ought to be able to, right? Because everybody who has these Pac-Mania cabs is going to be selling them so they can buy either the Deluxe or the XL. So, if you can find one used for $200 or $300, I would do it. I probably would not buy this cab for $400. I would just save up the extra $100 and get the Deluxe cab, and or $200 more and get the XL cab. Your mileage might vary, however. Let me know down below, guys. How many Pac-Man games have you bought from Arcade1up over the years? Do you have any interest in any of these? Do you think that this cab is worth it for $200? Because right now I'm enjoying it. And I do feel the urge to change the monitor out, but I'm also very, very lazy. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode. Hope you like it. Again, comment down below if you're going to get any of these cabs, what you think about the possibilities of Miss Pac-Man joining with Pac-Man on a cab down the line. And are you going to pick up that Pac-Man XL for $600? I think for a lot of people, that's going to be a heck yes. All right, well, anyway, until next time, love each other, and I'll see you again in the Game Shack. Mwah!
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.